HT Smartcast.
You are listening to an HT Smartcast original.
Welcome to She Diaries, an exclusive podcast series for women entrepreneurs, brought to you by sheatwork.com, a one-stop knowledge hub for women entrepreneurs. This podcast is an HT Smartcast original and is available on htsmartcast.com, India's fastest growing podcast producing platform. Through She Diaries, the She at Work team will bring to you meaningful conversations on women empowerment and entrepreneurship, with a view to educate, support, and motivate women entrepreneurs around the world.
Hello everyone, I'm Ruby Sinha, founder She at Work. One of the biggest challenges for all entrepreneurs is financing. And today we have with us noted woman entrepreneur Anisha Singh, who can provide some very valuable inputs on this aspect. Anisha is the founding partner of She Capital, an early stage fund that invests in high growth women-led businesses. She's also the founder and former CEO of mydala, which is one of the largest local services market platforms in India and UAE. She was ranked amongst the top 7 women CEOs located outside the US by Crunchbase in 2018. Prior to mydala, Anisha also founded and ran a digital technology content company, and she's also started a career working with the Clinton administration on an initiative called Springboard, which helped women entrepreneurs raise funds. Welcome to She Diaries, Anisha.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it, Ruby.
So yours has been an inspirational journey, Anisha. I mean, I've been seeing you for years, from being one of India's earliest female entrepreneurs who actually set up mydala when you were pregnant with your first child, to someone who moved on to set up a VC firm, She Capital. So firstly, what prompted you to take the leap into entrepreneurship and then eventually setting up She Capital?
So, there was never a grand plan that I had where I wish I could say, this is what I was going to do or this is what I was going to do. There was no strategy behind it. I had seen my father go through such hard times initially in his business that I had told myself that no matter what happens, I will never be an entrepreneur. I had sworn off that. I said, I'll have a regular paycheck, but I refuse to be an entrepreneur. It's too hard. And you know what they say never, because that's what you end up doing. So mydala actually was my second venture. I had another tech company before that. And I sold that one in the US and then started mydala. And I think once you get the entrepreneurial bug in you, it refuses to go away. It's like an addiction. You just keep doing it. And so doing mydala, that was essentially it. And when I started talking globally and speaking globally, during my tenure at mydala, I basically had to talk about women entrepreneurs, and I started looking at the numbers, and you know what, it was really dismal and sad. And when I looked at it, and it just at that point, it felt like something needed to be done. Only 2% of the funding, of the total funding universe and pie, went to women entrepreneurs, which was really sad because by that time I was actively mentoring a lot of women entrepreneurs. This is in 2012, 2013. So we knew that the community of women entrepreneurs was growing, but there wasn't really any, that big gap of funding was not going away. And so, what they say, if you can't find the solution to the problem, you actually build it yourself. And so that's how She Capital came about. In 2018, actually in 2017 and 2018, I just decided it needed to be done. Somebody needed to stand up and say, we're going to fund more women entrepreneurs. And basically that's how She Capital came about. And I took the leap from the entrepreneurial to the VC world. I'm still a founder, just a founder of a venture fund now.
So what are the focus areas of She Capital, Anisha? How do you, are there any specific verticals or sectors that you look at?
We tend to see a lot of women. We don't particularly have a sector focus. And the reason we didn't, I'll tell you also very blatantly, is because when we'd go and pitch to investors, they were like, Arey, ye kya? Already there are such few women founders. Aapne already अपना funding का focus इतना narrow कर दिया with women entrepreneurs, which wasn't the case, right? We know that there are a lot of women entrepreneurs and a lot of them that are doing a lot of diverse stuff. But that was the general mindset when you went out to raise money, that you had already narrowed your focus to women. My background being technology for the last 20 years, that is one thing that we've stuck with. So it is, we fund technology ventures. That sounds like a really broad focus. Consumer tech is my background, and mydala was a consumer tech company. And I also feel we should only get behind what we can add value. So broadly, we only look at consumer tech plays, that are in the market.
Okay. In India, I don't know how many women actually approach for funding. I think most of us, when we started, we were not even aware about half of the schemes that are there of the government, about financial support from external institutions, etc. Do you feel that there is a lack of awareness or an inherent reluctance of women to reach out for funds, either for starting their own ventures or even for scaling up, in India especially?
The lack of knowledge is not just women entrepreneurs, it's also the government. So before I started She Capital, I had also heard of all these schemes, and I said, okay, listen, I'm going to call into some of the banks that are going to be lending money according to these grants and schemes and ask them. And even they didn't have enough knowledge on what needed to be done for a woman to get a loan. So I think the infra is there, the intention is there, the execution on that has been a little weak on a lot of fronts. And I think now on the government side is changing. You see, organizations like Invest India actively doing stuff, Niti Aayog actively doing stuff in the women's cell aspect of it and trying to grow that and, get the knowledge down to where it needs to on a government level. As far as women entrepreneurs are concerned, absolutely. Look at me. When I started my first venture, even I didn't know anything about venture funding. I do think also, Ruby, that this is market maturity aspect, right? I think if you asked us in 2007, 8 or 2009, when I started mydala, I had very little knowledge. On how to present or everything. But I think now that the market is maturing, a lot of women are very sophisticated about, how they go about raising funding. They know exactly what the investors are looking for. Are they as sophisticated as their male counterparts? Absolutely not. But again, that being a factor of the fact that if you look at it in general, we've come a little behind, right? And that is what we're trying to bridge here, even at She Capital, that gap. So once we get to that level, you'll see that the sophistication is just phenomenal. But it needs to be done. The awareness isn't there on some levels in terms of how to present, how to just show your financial projections, that sophistication. But the people who get it really get it.
Okay. Yeah, sure. In fact, I was wondering as you were talking, see, if you were not really aware, I was not really aware, we are sitting in the metros. So how is the situation in the smaller cities of India? Do you get inquiries from women in the smaller cities beyond the tier 1 cities?
Yes, absolutely. And you'd be amazed at the level of sophistication, or at least research some of them have. So I don't, the tier 2s, there are some really, really cool, businesses that are being built. I'll tell you the biggest difference that I've seen between just a female founder and a male founder, which I found very interesting. And it's my biggest, irk also in terms of we are this way, including me, and I'm sure including you. But also I think it is in a way, it self-serves us really well. If you look at financial projections that are done by a woman-led company, you'll notice that they are always on the conservative side or a realistic side.
True.
Okay. Whenever we talk to someone or whatever, we'll always give, not these grandiose plans. And at mydala also, I always used to say, how can I say these projections? These look unreal, right? But the fact is, as investors sitting on this side, we want you to believe. Now I know it because I'm on this side. Okay. Unrealistic is different, but having that big idea of scale should be there. Having that big picture should be there, which we women don't tend to do. And that's the only thing which I think we need to be able to do. Because if you can't see that big picture and big scale, that is not there. I tend to see this, especially in the businesses that come from the tier 2. They'll always do a little more humble in terms of financial projections, humble in terms of growth, realistic. It's great, and if we went without venture funding, that's how you're going to grow, which is in a realistic fashion, which is how a lot of traditional businesses have been successful. But at this point, when venture funding is involved and you're a startup, you want to be able to see what is the bigger picture and the scale. My request actually to all female founders is go back. If you are going to approach investors, really go back, look at your business plans, and study them intensively. Don't make them unrealistic, but also think what could be the bigger picture. What could you show as growth and high growth?
Yeah, you're right. So which brings me to my next question. You as Anisha, who's been an entrepreneur, who's now heading a VC firm, what are some of the tips you would like to give women entrepreneurs who are looking at generating investments for their ventures?
I think it's this. Okay, the first thing is please do your research. When you send, nothing irks, I think, an investor more than when you send an email that says, I have an idea, and then nothing else. Investors don't want that. We're not looking to handhold you through this. We're investors. So if you're going to an incubator, it's a different thing, right? Then you're going with an idea. But when you're coming to a venture stage investor or an angel investor, have your deck in place. Don't send out a small email with nothing really for the investor to understand, or at least have it as a backup, the deck, because agar tumne hi nahi effort banaya and you haven't put any energy into it, why would we believe that you have the energy to take your company forward? So that's my first thing. Also research investors. Not all investors invest in all kinds of stuff, okay? We get people asking for different things, which we'll never get into. And we've actually talked about it time and again. You wouldn't go to a Pi Ventures or a DSG with different, Pi does AI, DSG does consumer. You'd want to go to them with the fund focus that's there. So don't really research your investors. This is the kind of homework that needs to be done. My second humble request to all female entrepreneurs is know your numbers. I don't know hum kyun itna darte hain numbers se, right? You especially see this all the time, and I want to test it because if you understand business, you will know your numbers and you should talk about it, because otherwise the investor just feels that you're not comfortable, or agar aap comfortable hi nahi ho to fir aap kaise, how will you lead the business? Because numbers are the backbone of your company, right? So that's really, really important. I've seen it in co-led teams also. There'll be a female founder and a guy founder, and they'll come and the female founder will talk everything else except the numbers. And then, the guy will start talking numbers. I don't like that. I mean, it should be that, business aana chahiye. At the end of the day, dhanda aana chahiye, to everybody. Otherwise, how are we sure that you're going to lead it? So that's really, really important. Other than that, I think in general, you should be able to answer questions around your business. It shouldn't be, your main management team. You should understand it. How is it going to grow everything? But that's about it. Yehi agar homework ho jaye, then great. One of the things that I request people to do, they say the best time to raise money is when you don't need it. Meko ye kabhi samajh hi nahi aati thi, what does this mean? But now I get it when I'm sitting on this side of the table. What they mean by that is start networking. And I know networking ka pahad, especially for women, is such a big deal. Oh my God, how are we supposed to do it? All we're saying is reach out to people now on email, because, anyway, people are not meeting, and just say, this is what I'm building. I'd love to get your advice. And this should be the time you're not looking for funding. This should be the time when you're just starting to grow. You have to get that at the end of the day, an investor is putting money into your business. And the only reason they're going to do that is if they know you as a founder as well, if they understand what makes you tick, right? And if you build that relationship with them right from the beginning, then you're not running to them just as you're running out of money or requiring funding. You've already built a long-term relationship. So they'll be more attuned and acceptable to, either investing in you or referring you to other investors.
Yeah, you're right. Which brings me to another thing. when there's an investor pitch going on. In India, a majority of businesses where women's names are there in the founders, most of them are just sleeping partners. It's usually the male member who's leading it. So how do you do that check at She Capital that whether a woman is actually leading the business or she's just a silent partner?
Yeah, I've been asked this, Ruby. I think ये इतने घसीटे खुद खा के and hang mydala मोटा तो समझ आ जाता है ना who's leading. So that's the most basic thing. I don't think people need to worry about that. You can tell who's wearing the pants. Okay, and it's easy to figure out कि कहाँ है. When you're talking to a founder, right? Okay, why do we invest? When you're investing at such an early stage, right? You're investing because of the passion that you see. I always tell people, I want to see reflections of myself in that person. Okay, I want to see that passion. You're investing because of passion. If somebody is a sleeping partner, they're not going to have that passion. A founder, the reason you're investing in the business at an early stage is because you can see that the founder genuinely believes that this is it, this is their mecca, this is what they're going to make happen. Okay, और वो दिखता है, you can see it. I mean, people are not blind. If you've just been there as a sleeping partner, it's pretty obvious. It's very hard to have that kind of passion about the business.
Yeah. That's true. Just one more thing, Anisha, you've been talking about mentoring women entrepreneurs for a long time. I mean, I remember when you were with mydala also. So throughout your journey, how important, all these aspects that you're talking about, we need to rise up and speak up for ourselves, know our numbers. So how important do you feel is mentorship, especially for a woman entrepreneur?
Yeah, there are studies that show, Ruby, that if a male and a female are equally successful, so suppose they both build $300 million companies, a female will attribute it 70% more to the mentors that have mentored her, okay? And the access to social capital, which is also the support network, okay? So clearly it is a very important aspect for female founders. Okay. That being said, I also have seen now over time the word mentor has become really slandered. People don't understand, and when you're starting out, then there's a lot of confusion. How am I supposed to get the right set of mentors? My thing to everybody is, mentors are not. You don't have to reach out to a Sheryl Sandberg. You don't have to reach out to somebody like that. Mentors come in all shapes and form. I don't have one single person who's a mentor. I've had different people who have been mentors to me. I think this is the way that we all make different impact right now, okay? Especially women to other women. I think this is such a great change and movement happening here. There are so many of us now in the ecosystem. We can all be mentors to each other. Before COVID, we'd do these events, right? Where we'd have female entrepreneurs that had reached a certain scale, and there were, entrepreneurs that were just starting out. And we thought the learning would come from these, senior female entrepreneurs to the others. But what was interesting was the mentor network actually was a lot of peer-to-peer learning. So I think that mentor ka pahad can be only your friend or, even another female founder that you call and say, I'm going through a rough time and this is what is going on. What do you think? So I think right now there's a great movement and a mentor change that we can make happen here. And I think it's really important that we realize this. You see this happen all the time with the guys, right? You'll see the IIT network is very strong for the boys. You'll see that guys will come out, they'll high five each other. I think we really need to do this, and we really need to. So when I talk about financial projections, if there is a female out there who knows how to do a financial projections, how many more can she mentor? And it's so important to be able to do this and make a difference and give back to the ecosystem that we all belong to. Only then will it grow.
Yeah, true. I was just wondering, during the ongoing pandemic, we've been asking people in our podcasts, you feel that due to work from home becoming a reality, women entrepreneurship should ideally grow because now you can do everything online. But the reality is also that the work pressure has really increased on women at home. So how's the situation been for you during the pandemic? How has it been for women entrepreneurship in general, according to you?
This is one of those myths which I really wanted to get a handle around, because I was getting a lot of press calling me and saying, work from home, blessing in disguise. I also saw a lot of my male founder counterparts writing, oh great, work from home, a lot of female now can join into the workforce. And I really wanted to get a handle and a reality check on it. So I actually put in a LinkedIn post asking female founders what they thought about work from home. And, interestingly enough, I think it was over 68% that said work from home is tough. It is really bloody tough, because now what is happening, and I'm included in that. Okay. I say that, and you and I talked before the podcast. This is so hard because your personal life, your work life, everything is merging. I have deep respect now for, not that I didn't, but for my kids' teachers. I have great respect for moms who, are, just full-time mothers, because, this is hard. Your personal, work life, everything merging into one. It's just a lot of workload on females. And I think the pandemic showed that, and also that, just asking women to respond back on LinkedIn and getting that kind of response, it felt like, thank God there are other women who feel this, that everything is merging into one. So I think the jury is still out on whether it has been a positive thing or not.
They're mixed views.
What do you think? What has it been for you? Are you enjoying
I have the same thing to say. When the men go back to work, I think women entrepreneurship will grow. Right now, it's too much of balancing work, kids, house, and with no maids around. So it's a tough situation for most women.
Yeah, I mean, we suddenly appreciate a lot of things that we took for granted. And it's just, I'd be happy for things to go back to normal.
Yeah, same here. Which leads us to the next question. So in 2021, because of all these situations and virtual becoming the new reality, do you see any emerging sectors that will be there in 2021 that will be new avenues for women entrepreneurs?
Okay, so one, I belong to the edtech field in 2000. Okay, so it's been 20 years, okay, for edtech to have its homecoming. And I now feel edtech is going through a weird bull market, which we've never seen. Valuations are sky high and everything. So I think it was much needed. And I think COVID has, escalated that. But I really do think that it's gone a little too hyped up, okay, edtech in general. That's one thing. I'm excited for a lot of cool consumer tech companies coming through, which I think now COVID has actually escalated, the virtual try-ons of the world. It's convenient whether we like it or not. I mean, Lenskart sitting there and just trying on your glasses online. It's more convenient than being able to go and then shortlist stuff. So I think the virtual try-ons of the world, the health, I'm very excited for some of the stuff that we're seeing in health tech. I'm really, really excited for where that is going to head and how we're shortlisting stuff around that. And within health tech, we're seeing some really cool mental wellness stuff and everything. Then, we're seeing a lot of exciting things finally being built for women, which I wasn't seeing earlier. You'd see women do stuff, but that was it. If you see in the US, what has happened in the last year is all the consumer tech unicorns that are female-led are built by women for women. And I think now that's starting to happen here. So you're seeing a lot of fintech companies that are catering to women. You're seeing a lot of consumer tech companies that are doing, a lot of cool things just for women. I'm very excited for where femme technology will go. And by that, I don't mean just pads or sanitary pads, which has now gone a little, there's too many of them out there, which we need. But there is a lot of other stuff happening, you're looking at, people actually talking about sexual wellness. You're talking about menopause, PCOS, things that were not happening. I mean, it was a one size fits all and females would just have very limited choices. Now you'll see in the next 2 years, there is going to be so much. It happened with sanitary pads. We started and we only had Stay Free. And now if you open any app or Amazon, you see that there are at least 50 choices that you have. You can choose anything from biodegradable to organic to, pink, color, everything. You're going to start seeing that with innerwear. We're really excited about the company that we invested in, Clovia. They've got great options, everything. You're going to start seeing that with a lot of the innerwear and the bras and everything and lingerie, but you're going to start seeing that with, just our own wellness. Suddenly there's not just one vitamin pill for women. There's so much else going on. So I think all this, now that COVID, slowly everybody's getting attuned to it, driven by technology, is going to start taking a precedence. And we're excited to be a part of this.
Great. Yeah, let's hope people, women especially take benefits of these new avenues. Now, one last question that we have, Anisha, is that, what can be done to improve the overall entrepreneurship ecosystem in India, in the sense that, women don't just start ventures, but also look at scaling them. Because that's one area that I personally feel there's women lag behind, in scaling up their ventures aggressively, where someone like you can really be helpful. So what can be done to improve the overall ecosystem?
You and I are doing it right now. I'll tell you, I'm so excited for 2021. I think it's going to be such a great year. And I think 2022 is going to be even better. You suddenly see how much, Ruby, you and I have been around forever. And when we talked in 2015, how many women-focused incubators had you heard of? How many women-focused podcasts or VC?
You were planning to start one, if you remember, an incubation contest.
Yeah. So it's just now there are so many. I can list at least 4 or 5 women, focused incubators, which is so brilliant, because that was a much needed part of the ecosystem. We've come about, and suddenly there's a lot of news around that. There's podcasts that you all are doing, which is so great, because there needs to be more knowledge sharing around this and more peer-to-peer learning. So I actually am super excited for where the ecosystem is headed. I think there's a lot of activity going on. We'll see some of it take off, some of it go away. Like last year, I had, I think, 6 people reach out to me. Just the span number saying they're starting women-led incubators. How many of those take off, we don't know. But, this is maturing of the ecosystem. At least all of us are thinking that way. And we all want to do something around that, which is kind of cool. I really like it. I think I'm excited for where we will be as an ecosystem for women entrepreneurs in 2021.
Great. More power to women like you, Anisha. And thanks a lot for joining us on She Diaries.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it, Ruby. Great catching up anyway.
Same here.
If you would like to feature on She Diaries, you can write to us at info@sheatwork.com. For more related content, visit our website sheatwork.com or follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. To give us your feedback, reach out to us at HT Smartcast. We're present on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. To listen to more podcasts, log on to htsmartcast.com or suno Naye Nazariye se.
This was an HT Smartcast original.
HT Smartcast.